Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, Jesus directed, and all things shall be added unto you. The kingdom of heaven cometh not with observation, he said, neither shall they say, Lo here, lo there. For behold, the kingdom of heaven is within you. What is heaven? That word heaven is perhaps the most misunderstood word in the Bible. In the original Greek text, the word used for it is uranos, which is translated literally means expansion. And what is expansion? It is increasing, spreading out, multiplying, is it not? Seek ye first the kingdom of expansion, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seek a place or a state of being where you can expand, grow, increase, multiply, bring forth fruit. This idea is further strengthened by Jesus' own description of what the kingdom of heaven is like. The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, when a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal until the whole was leavened. What is the property of a mustard seed? It spreads. A single seed will grow into a tree. A single tree will produce enough seed to plant a great field. And what is the property of leaven or yeast? It expands in a single night. It can expand 100 times in size. Go back over any of the miracles of increase in the Bible and see if they are not all miracles of expansion. How did Elijah make the oil and meal last? So that 1 measure of oil and a little meal fed him and the widow and her son for an indefinite period. How did Elisha increase the pot of oil for that other widow who came to him to save her son from bondage, so that she had enough to fill all the vessels she could borrow from her neighbors? By expanding them, did they not? And how can you expand things? We know of only 2 methods. 1, by pressure from within. 2, by heat. To produce increased expansion must come from within the object itself, just as it comes from within every seed that grows. Such expansion comes only from heat. To expand water, for instance, you heat it until it becomes steam, and from that expanded vapor you can get power to do greater work that thousands of men or hundreds of horses could do. If you want to expand metal, you can bring it to a white heat, and while in that state you can make of it anything your skill can contrive. If you want to expand coal and draw from it the rich gases and coal tar and dyes and other derivatives hidden under its hard exterior, you have only to heat it. If you want to expand a seed or corn or wheat or any fruit or vegetable and have it grow and bring forth fruit and multiply, you must plant and water it so it will heat and burst its shell and send its shoots upward. In short, the one prerequisite in the expansion of any element from within seems to be heat. But how can we use heat to expand our riches? Should we then throw everything into the fire and hope to get our increase from the flames? By no means. Certainly, that was not the way Jesus did it, nor the prophets. They used heat, but it was a different kind of heat. It was the heat of love, of praise, and blessing fanned by the breath of faith. Take the time, for instance, when the multitudes had followed Jesus out of the cities into a desert place. In front of him stood 5,000 hungry people. To feed them, Jesus had only 5 loaves and 2 small fishes. What did he do? He first blessed the bread and the fishes. He praised them. He thanked God for them. You who have worked with people, especially with children or simple-minded folk, know the effects of praise. God gave you dominion over the earth. Everything is your servant. The law of increase. There is one unfailing law of increase. Whatever is praised and blessed multiplies. Count your blessings and they increase. If you are in need of supply, start in now to praise every small piece of money that come to you. Blessing it is a symbol of God's abundance and love. You will be surprised how soon that small piece will increase to many pieces. When we praise God and then look about us and praise His invisible presence in all that we see, we find that the good is so magnified that much becomes evident that we ordinarily fail to see. Running through all of Jesus Christ's acts as well as His teachings, we find the glowing elements of praise. When He looked at 5 loaves and 2 small fishes and realized that He had a multitude to feed, His first thought was a thought of praise, and looking up to heaven, He blessed. Go back over the Old Testament and see how often you are adjured to praise the Lord and be thankful that then shall the earth yield be increased. Probably no life chronicled in the Scriptures was more beset with trials and danger than that of King David. And what was his remedy? What brought him through all the tribulations to power and riches? Just read the Psalm of David and you will see. Jehovah reigneth. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitudes of Ides be glad. Bless Jehovah, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless His holy name. Who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases. If anyone could tell you the shortest, surest way to all happiness and all perfection, wrote William Law, he must tell you to make it a rule to yourself to thank and praise God for everything that happens to you. For it is certain that whatever seeming calamity happens to you, if you thank and praise God for it, you turn it into a blessing. Could you therefore work miracles? You could not do more for yourself than by this thankful spirit, for it turns all that it touches into happiness. How then can you increase your supply? How can you get more of riches and happiness and every good thing of life? In the same way as the wise men and the prophets of old, in the same way that Jesus fed the multitudes, in the same way that He filled the disciples' nets to overflowing with fish after they had labored all night and caught nothing, by expanding what you have. And the way to expand is through love, through praise and thanksgiving. Throughout the Bible we are told, in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Again and again, the root of inspiration and attainment is stressed. Rejoice. Be glad. Praise. Give thanks. Prove me now herewith, said the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, there shall not be room enough to receive it. One of the startling facts of modern science is that this universe is not a finished product. Creation is going on all around us. New worlds being formed, cosmic energy taking shape in a million different molds. But a far more startling fact to most of us is that we are creators, and that we can form today the world we personally shall be living tomorrow. If you don't like the present result, you can rename those servants. You can bless and praise the good, no matter how tiny it may seem, and by your praise and blessing, you can expand it 1,000-fold. If you want health, happiness in your life, if you're seeking riches and success, attune your thoughts to these. Bless the circumstances that surround you. Bless and praise those who come in contact with you. Bless even the difficulties you meet, for by blessing them, you can change them from discordant conditions to favorable ones. You can speed up their rate of activity to where there will bring you good instead of evil. It is only lack of responsiveness to good that produces the lack in your life. Good works on the plane of expansion. Good revolves at a high rate of activity. You can key your activity to the same rate by an expectant, confident state of mind. You can bring all your surroundings and circumstances up to the same level by blessing them, praising the good in them. Remember, the basic magnet lies in your own thoughts. Upon the quality and activity of that magnet depend the good or evil that will be drawn to you. You are the master of your fate. You are the architect who determines the materials that are to be used in making your life and your circumstances. You have the power of selectivity. How then shall we order our lives? to the end that we may have the good things we seek, riches and happiness, health and success. Seek ye first the kingdom of expansion, and all things else shall be added unto you. The nucleus. Remember, everything in this universe must start with a nucleus. A single electron is touched in the right way to start revolving on its axis. The magnetism engendered by it draws to it other particles of a like nature, setting them in motion likewise. With that, as a nucleus, it can grow and multiply indefinitely as long as its rate of motion continues. It is only when something slows it down that it disintegrates and dies. How can you start such a nucleus? With an idea, backed by earnest desire and faith. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. That was the advice of the master psychologist of all time. The great healer, the worker of miracles. Again and again, he assured those he cured that it was their faith that made them whole. And where such faith was lacking, as when he went back to the home of his childhood in Nazareth, it is written that there he did my works. But how, you may ask, can you work up such faith? There are two ways. The first is through affirmations, claiming the thing you want, telling your subconscious that you have it, and keep on telling it in such convincing tones that it finally accepts the statement as fact and proceeds to bring it into being. That was QA's way. His every day and every way I am getting better and better, or richer and richer. Helped many people. But if you want the best results, add this second factor. Stand in front of your mirror, look your reflection in the eye, and talk to it as you would if you were a salesman. And upon you selling the man in the mirror depended upon everything important in your life. For it does. If it is health you want, use some such affirmation as this. I am energy. I am strength. I am power. I am filled and thrilled with omnipotent life. The vitality of God permeates every fiber of my being. I am well and whole in every part of my body. The grace and poise of our Lord Jesus Christ enfolds me. O living Father, this is thy holy temple. Thou art making it a perfect dwelling place from which shall radiate thy healing love and wisdom to all mankind. Father, thou art glorifying me, that I also may glorify thee. Tell him that and believe it. When you can convince him that you do believe it, you will be well. Here is another potent affirmation. Life abundant quickens me now. Love all-powerful heals me. God's strong, pure life is now active in and through every cell in my body. His perfect image of my every organ is now vitalized in me in perfect form. By the power and authority of Jesus Christ, every cell in my body is vitalized and restored. I have come to him, and I am healed. Money, success, happiness can all be won in the same way. They all start with a nucleus, an idea, an ambition, a desire. They all require you to do something to start that nucleus revolving around its axis and drawing to itself the elements necessary for its growth and successful completion. They all need faith to speed up the rate of motion and keep the nucleus growing. Faith is the great impelling force. If thou canst believe, all things are possible unto you. There is magic in believing. Professor William James of Harvard, the greatest psychologist America has known, declared that belief is oftentimes the only thing that can assure the successful conclusion of doubtful undertaking. Man's faith acts upon all the forces about him to bring into being the results that he images and believes in. You can readily understand that when you realize that it is only faith that can keep the nucleus of an idea or business going, if obstacles beset its path, you must hold to your image of the completed undertaking. You must see it successful in your mind's eye. You must believe in it. How did God create the heavens and the earth and everything that in them is? You read in the scriptures that God made every plant of the field before it was on the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. How did he do it? In the same way that he made man. In his image created he him. He imaged man in his mind. As the psalmist put it, in thy book all members were written, when as yet there were none of them. You read in St. John, in the beginning was the Word. What is a word? A mental image, is it not? In the beginning was the mental image. That is the way everything in it is created right down to this day, from the building of a house to the laying of a transcontinental railway. In everything God created, the word or mental image came first, then the material form. And that is the way it is with you. Get the right image in your mind, put your faith in it, and you can bring it into being. You control your destiny, your fortune, your happiness, to the exact extent to which you can think them out. Visualize them, see them as already yours, allow no vagrant thought of fear or worry to mar their competition and beauty. The quality of your thought is the measure of your power. The source and center of all man's creative power, writes Glenn Clark, the power that above all others lifts him above the level of brute creation and that gives him dominion, is his power of making images, or the power of the imagination. There is a very real law of cause and effect which makes the dream of the dreamer come true. It is the law of visualization and belief, the law that calls into being in this outer world everything that we truly believe to be real in the inner world. Imagination pictures the thing you desire. Action starts your nucleus whirling and growing. Belief gives magnetic power to it, enabling it to attract to itself every element it needs to bring it into reality. It reaches beyond the thing that is into the conception of what can be. Imagination gives you the picture. Belief gives you the power to make the picture of your own. Make your mental image clear enough. Picture it vividly enough. Give it action and belief, and all the powers of the universe will join to help you bring it into being. That law holds true of everything in life. There is nothing you can rightfully desire that cannot be brought into being through visualization, action, and belief. The keynote of successful visualization is this: see things as you would have them be instead of as they are. Close your eyes and make clear mental pictures. Make them look and act just as they would if they were real. In short, daydream purposefully. Then put foundations under your dreams with your belief. As James Allen put it, dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. The mental image is what counts. Be it for good or ill, it is a devastating or beneficent force, just as you choose to make it. To paraphrase Thackeray, the world is a looking glass and gives back to every man the reflection of his own thought. Every condition, every experience of life is the result of our own mental attitude. We can do only what we think we can do. We can be only what we think we can be. We can have only what we think we can have. What we do, what we are, what we have all depend upon what we think. We can never express anything that we do not first have in mind. The secret of all power, all success, all riches is in first thinking powerful thoughts, successful thoughts, thoughts of wealth and supply. We must build them in our minds first. Could we rightly comprehend the mind of man? Wrote Paracelsus, nothing would be impossible to us upon the earth. And Buddha told his followers, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. And thought is subject wholly to the control of mind. Its direction rests with us. So learn to control your thought. Learn to image upon your mind only things you want to see reflected in your outer circumstances. Our achievements of today are but the sum of our thoughts of yesterday. Remember, you can have anything you want if you want it badly enough. You can be anything you want to be, have anything you desire, accomplish anything you set out to accomplish. If you will hold to that desire with singleness of purpose, if you will understand and believe in your own powers to accomplish. Just as the first law of gain is desire, so the formula of success is belief. Believe that you have it. See it as an existent fact. And anything you can rightly wish for is yours. Belief is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is your belief in yourself that counts. It is the consciousness of dominant power within you that makes all things obtainable. You can do anything. You think you can. This knowledge is literally the gift of the gods, for through it, you can solve every human problem. It is the open door to all good that you desire. But do not let doubts or fears creep in. Remember the admonition of St. James, "He that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. Let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord." Baudouin said the same in different words. To be ambitious for wealth, and yet always expecting to be poor, to be always doubting your ability to get what you long for, is like trying to reach east by traveling west. There is no philosophy which will help man to succeed when he is always doubting his ability to do so, and thus attracting failure. You will go in the direction in which you face. There is a saying that every time the sheep bleats, it loses a mouthful of hay. Every time you allow yourself to complain of your lot, to say, "I am poor, I can never do what others do, I shall never be rich, I have not the ability what others have," you are laying up so much trouble for yourself. No matter how hard you may work for success, if your thought is saturated with the fear of failure, it will kill your efforts, neutralize your endeavors, and make success impossible. Learn to control your thought. Learn to image upon your mind only the things you want to see reflected in your outer circumstances. Your achievements of today are but the sum of your thoughts and beliefs of yesterday. Your chances of success in any undertaking can always be measured by your belief in yourself. Suppose your surroundings are discouraging. Just bear in mind that your real environment is within you. All the factors that make for success or failure are in your inner world. You make that inner world, and through it, your outer world. You can choose the material from which to build it. The richness of life is within you. No one has failed as long as he can begin again. So start now to do the things you feel you have it in you to do. Ask permission of no man. Your belief that you can do the thing gives you thought force power. Fortune waits upon you. Seize her boldly, hold her, and she is yours. She belongs rightfully to you. The men who have made their mark in this world all had one trait in common. They believed in themselves. So what do you want most from life? Whatever it is, you can have it. If you can believe in it, if you can see in it in your mind's eye as yours, you must be able to hold it in your thought, visualize it, see yourself having it. You must make your model clear-cut and distinct. 1. Remember, the first thing necessary is a sincere desire, concentrating your thought on one thing with singleness of purpose. 2. The second is visualization, seeing yourself doing it, imaging the object in the same way that God first imaged everything He created. 3. The third essential is to take whatever action is necessary to start your nucleus revolving and growing. 4. Next is faith, believing that you have the thing you want, affirming constantly to your image in the mirror that you are rich or successful or healthy or happy. Not that you are going to be, mind you, but that you are. 5. And the last is gratitude. Gratitude for this thing that you have received, for the power that enabled you to create it, for all the gifts that mind has given you in such profusion. Thank God that you have received. God is not partial to a fortunate few. He does not give to them and let the rest starve. He gives freely to all. But there are certain laws governing these riches of His. There are rules that must be complied with, and until you learn the rules, you are like Ali Baba without the magic. Open sesame to open the doors of the treasure trove. You've heard of Einstein's law of relativity, and you probably wondered at times why such a to-do should be made over an obscure scientific law that could have no bearing as far as you could see upon everyday life. But do you know that Einstein's theory is as important to you as any law in the land? For on what is his theory based? First, that there is only one material in the universe. Second, and this is the part with a direct bearing upon you, there is only one fundamental law of universe. That law is the law of attraction. Perhaps you will get the connection more readily if I give you this law as it is expressed in the Bible. There it reads, "To him that hath shall be given, and from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath." To put it in ordinary everyday language, Einstein's law of the universe and the biblical precept both mean that you must either be an attractor, drawing things to you, or else be willing to sit back and see everything that is yours attracted to some stronger personality. Does that seem unjust? If so, it is still the way that all of nature works. Take any seed of plant life. Take an acorn, for instance. You put it in the ground, plant it. What happens? It first gives all the elements it has within itself to put forth a shoot, which in turn shall draw from the sun and the air the elements that they have to give, and at the same time it puts out roots to draw from the earth the moisture and other elements it needs for growth. Its top reaches upward to the sun and air. Its roots burrow deeply into the ground for the moisture and nourishment. Always it is reaching out. Always it is creating a vacuum, using up all the materials it has on hand, drawing to itself from all about every element it needs for growth. Time passes. The oak tree stops growing. What happens? In that moment, its attractive power ceases. Can it then live on the elements it has drawn to itself and made a part of itself through all those years? No, indeed. The moment growth stops, disintegration starts. Its component elements begin to feel the pull of the growing plants around them. First the moisture drains out of the tree, then the leaves fall, the bark peels. Finally the great trunk crashes down to decay and form soil to nourish the growing plants around. Soon, of the noble oak, nothing is left but the enriched soil and the well-nourished plants that have sprung from it. The fundamental law of the universe is that you must integrate or disintegrate. You must grow or feed others who are growing. There is no standing still. You must speed up your rate of motion until you are attracting to yourself all the unused forces about you, or you must give your own to help build some other man's success. To him that hath shall be given. To him that is using his attractive powers shall be given everything he needs for growth and fruition. From him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. The penalty for not using your attractive powers is the loss of them. You are demagnetized and like a dead magnet surrounded by live ones. You must be content to see everything you have drawn to yourself taken by them, until eventually even you are absorbed by the resistless force. That is the first and fundamental law of the universe. But how are you to become an attractor? How are you to make your start in the same way that it has been done from the beginning of time? Go back to the first law of life. Go back to the beginning of things. You find nature logical in all that she does. If you want to understand how she works, study her in her most simplest and elementary forms. The principle established here holds good throughout the universe. The methods there used are created by all things, from the simplest to the most complicated. How, for instance, did the earliest forms of cell life, either plant or animal, get their food? By absorbing it from the waters around them? How does every cell in your body, every cell in plant or tree or animal, get its food today? In exactly the same way, by absorbing it from the lymph or water surrounding it. Nature's methods do not change. She is logical in everything. She may build more complicated organisms. She may go in for immense size or strange combinations, but she uses the same principles throughout all of life. Divide and grow. Now, what is nature's principle of increase? From the beginning of time, it has been divide and grow. That principle, like every other fundamental law of nature, is the same in all of life. It has remained unchanged since the first single-celled organism floated on the surface of the primordial sea. It is the fundamental law of increase. Take the lowest form of cell life. How does it grow? It divides. Each part grows back to its original size. Then they in turn divide and grow again. Take the highest form of cell life, man. The same principle works in exactly the same way. In fact, it is the only principle of growth that nature knows. How does this apply to your circumstances, to the acquisition of riches, to the winning of success? Look up any miracle of increase in the Bible, and what do you find? First division, then increase. When the widow of Zarephath told Elijah she had only a handful of meal and a little oil, he made her make from these a cake and give it to him. After that, to make herself and her son. She did so, and it is written that the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the oil fail. When another widow came to Elisha to beg that he save her sons from bondage for debt, he asked her, "What hast thou in the house?" And when she answered, "Not save a pot of oil," he bade her borrow vessels from the neighbors and pour out the oil into them. In other words, start the flow, and so long as she had vessels to receive it, the oil kept flowing. When the multitude lacked for bread, and the apostles came to Jesus to ask what they should do, he said, "How many loaves have you?" And when they told him 5 and 2 fishes, he blessed and broke the loaves, and gave them to set before the multitude, and the fishes divided. He among them all, and they did eat, and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments. In each case, God required that they start the flow, that they give what they had in perfect faith. When Russell Conwell was building the famous Baptist temple in Philadelphia, his congregation was poor and greatly in need of money. Through prayer and every other means known to man, Conwell was constantly trying to help his flock. One Sunday it occurred to him that the old Jewish custom had been, when praying to God, to first make an offering of the finest lamb of the flock, or of some other much prized possession. Then, after freely giving to God, prayer was made for his good gifts. So instead of first praying and then taking up the collection, as was the custom, Conwell suggested the collection be taken first, and that all who had special favors to ask of the Creator should give freely as a thank offering. A few weeks afterwards, Conwell asked that those who had made offering on this occasion should tell their experiences. The results sound unbelievable. One woman had an overdue mortgage on her home, found it necessary to call in a plumber the following week to repair a leak. In tearing up the boards, he uncovered a hiding place where her late father had hidden all his money, enough to pay off the mortgage and leave plenty over. One man had got a much-needed job, a servant some dresses she badly wanted, a student the chance to study for his chosen vocation, while literally dozens had their financial needs met. They had complied with the law. They had sown their seed freely, and they reaped the harvest. Many people will tell you, "I don't see why God does not send me riches. I have prayed for them and promised that if I get them, I will use them to do good." God enters into no bargains with man. He gives you certain gifts to start, and upon the way you use these depends whether you get more. You've got to start with what you have. It's no use saying you have not enough to be worth starting with. Just remember the parable of the talents. The servant who was given 5 talents put them out at interest and made more, as did the one who was given 2 talents. The servant who received only 1 talent felt that it was too little to do much with, so he buried it. And you know what happened to him when the master came back. You have a mind. You get ideas in abundance, ideas that might better the lot of those around you, ideas for service, ideas for making people happy, for improving conditions, for anything of good. Put them to work. Use them. Act upon them. In your mind, there are no more than daydreams, castles in the air. Put foundations under them by doing something to start them into action. Remember, everything in this universe starts with a nucleus. It can be an idea, an ambition, or your heart's desire. But a nucleus of itself has no power. It cannot attract to itself even a single element. You have to set it into motion. You have to give it life. Divide and grow. Give it something of yours to get it started, whether it be money or time or action or all of them. Start it whirling. Give it attractive power. How can you do it? First, by starting something. If you want a particular job, for instance, a particular work or opportunity, start the wheels in motion. That should bring it to you. If it requires special knowledge, study until you have that knowledge. If it requires influence, cultivate those who have that influence. Whatever it requires, do those things, and while doing them, stand before your mirror each morning and night and convince your image there that you have what it takes to get it. Speed up the rate of motion of your nucleus by faith in yourself. See yourself in your mind's eye doing the things that will be required of you when you land the job. If it is possible to do so, act out the things that will be expected of you before your mirror. Never pass a mirror without looking at your image in the eye and telling him that you are a success. You are accomplishing whatever it is that you have in mind. Remember always, first comes the mental image, then the fulfillment. Get that mental image clearly in your mind. Do something to start it into being. Believe in it, and the materialization will soon follow. But until you get it clearly in your own mind, you have a poor chance of putting it into the mind of anyone else. For anything that you want in life, writes Emmett Fox, a healthy body, a satisfactory vacation, friends of opportunity, and above all the understanding of God, you must furnish a mental equivalent. Granted the mental equivalent, the thing must come to you. And what is the mental equivalent? What but the image you hold in your mind's eye of the things you want? Thousands of books have been written on how to be successful, how to win your heart's desire, but here is the meat of it all. Every nucleus has power to draw to itself anything it needs for growth and fruition, if started into action and speeded up by constant faith. That knowledge should enable anyone to succeed. That knowledge is worth any price you may pay for it. It can enable you to overcome any handicap, to surmount any obstacle. It is literally the gift of the gods. So start something, no matter on how small a scale. To begin, you know it is to be half done. Making a beginning starts your nucleus whirling, and that in turn affects everything about you of a like nature, drawing it to you, setting it in motion likewise. A strong desire backed by a firmly held purpose is like a powerful magnet, drawing to it everything it needs for growth and fruition. But remember that the power of this magnet is dependent entirely upon your belief in it.